that girl who wants to speak to you about perspectives when it comes to other people's sessions. Well, you get to hear other people's sessions from the last, 2.5 years, potentially, I don't know the dates, time, man-made, right? When we hear other people's sessions, we hear about that timeline of what their subconscious is predicting they will experience the most probability, right? So it's kind of like if I asked, if with every question I asked in a session, if I said subconscious, how's my client going to experience the shift, right? That's a really common one. And if I said, after they told me the information, if I said, now subconscious, from your perspective, what is the percentage of that being the possibility? Then the subconscious could sort of rattle off a percentage point of, this is like a 70% chance this is going to be occurring, and there is some buffer, right? Like they never can be absolute, because time does this really weird thing where other people's choices affect us, right? So when people aren't stepping up and speaking their fullest truth, it's not helping humanity awaken, right? It's not the energy we're waiting for. It is humanity to suddenly be consciously aware of the higher truths. And when we all are suppressing our voices and not sharing the bigger truths and not pointing to the emperor's new clothing, being butt naked to all our Facebook friends or whatever, however we're supposed to help awaken humanity, we've all got a role to play with this. Right. So, it's quite tricky when we figure out what we're supposed to be doing here and why, and all this sort of stuff and how it looks like, and, support those prickly cactuses and support those people that go deep into fear and worry and all this sort of stuff. Right. Like it's quite a hard thing to know exactly what is the right thing to say to be able to help support and awaken people with their journey. Right. So whatever we're prompted to say, we should share it. And if we're having a conversation, often we don't talk about the bigger things, the elephant in the room, regardless of whether it is, because we just don't want that conflict. We don't want to have that confrontation of us sharing our truths and beliefs with other people who are very firmly either, let's just be lazy and say brainwashed, or have got real strong opinions that are not from a metaphysical perspective or a spiritual perspective or a new age perspective, and it's still very limited for whatever degree. This is why it's so crucial for us to have our own sessions, our own personal sessions, to be able to ask our personal subconscious exactly what's going on for us and why. Now, many people have sort of reached out to me recently. It's really interesting. And they've sort of said, they've given me the assumption that they still believe that when the shift happens, it will be, everyone will shift off this planet and go to new Earth, and it will be like the same sort of day, right? Everyone will experience it the same sort of day. And then whoever's left after that big day event, you're on the old Earth and you won't be going to the new Earth, right? Interesting. It's really interesting what I hear people coming and asking me questions about, because it's like, are you still listening to the sessions? And they're like, yeah, I'm still listening to the sessions. And I'm like, you haven't heard about the laser event. You haven't heard about the shift's been happening for quite a few years now. And also, not only has the shift been happening for a few years, but as we are approaching our own personal independent shifts. So, chances are my family will shift the same day as me, right? But it won't be the same day as you, because you're not in my neighborhood, you're not in my country, and you're not living our lives, right? So we're all really unique, and dependent upon your location of this planet really is quite a strong dependent when the majority are shifting, right? So what we have established in sessions, when we can officially call living here being the old Earth, right? Because at some point, this planet that we're living on is going to be termed the old Earth. I'm not that excited about that day where I get to say we're on the old Earth. Some days I think, yay, let's just bring it on. Let's just help humanity with this big experience so we can get on with it and evolve and start living in a higher perspective and a higher dimension. And the 5D feels like a freaking fantastic luxury right now. away from this density, away from this fear, away from people's egos, and away from a whole lot of nonsense that's trying to distract us, right? Let's get focused. Let's move forward, and let's have fun in the fifth, right? Party at my house. And this is why so many sessions are really crucial when you're listening to different practitioners, right? And even myself, some of my questions have been really lazy and haven't really expanded upon certain answers that you're all thinking you are seeking. And so when I asked about money, a lot of my clients were super focused with money, right? How can they, how can they improve money, get money, buy money, blah, 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 earn money, la, 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 right? Everyone's super focused on money. And so when the subconscious kept saying there is no money in the fifth dimension, there is no money on the new earth, it got our attention quite quickly, because it's like, it sounds like quite a few things changed, right? And then it's like, well, what else has changed? Do we still have Facebook on New Earth? No, we don't. We don't even have computers on the New Earth, right? We don't even have power on the New Earth, right? It's so different, and it freaks out people, because a lot of people don't want that bigger change, right? They want subtle things where, they feel good, better, and, it's just a mindset and blah, 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 right? That's as much as people can really cope with, isn't it? People freak out when they hear the sessions of this information. They can't even cope with the words about this shift and the new earth and how it's all going to be, let alone actually being physically, mentally prepared for the actual shift, what it looks like, staying on old earth. Majority, most of us will be staying on the old earth, right? Depending on where you're living, right? So, depending on life contracts, everything is life contracts. And for those people who still are pretty convinced that they are the creators of their reality, let's just expand upon that. So your reality includes the planet. So you master and you create the planet's consciousness and her life contract. Okay, interesting. What about my contract? Are you creating me? Am I part of your reality? So therefore, you're not respecting my subconscious and my life contract. No one's just here to worship and be here for you. It's really doesn't work like that. And so I know a lot of people have been given this information. We create our own reality. That sounds fantastic, right? That sounds like we're responsible and we're in charge and in control. And so what we can create is our mindsets, right? Are we going to be looking at everything pissed off, or are we going to see everything as a possibility for a lesson and experience and growth, right? Different perspectives, different realities. There it is. That's the only kind of key that you can have control over in creating your reality. Are you going to see things with that glass, right? Is the glass half full, or is the glass half empty? How is your perspective of things? Ultimately, you don't own that glass. Ultimately, you don't own that water, and you're just merely observing it. And so as you can observe your world and your life, that is it. And you can have perspectives and opinions about it, but you can't create your own reality in terms of how people are assuming they can. And I know lots of people get stuck with this. No, I want to have peace and harmony, and I want to create this blah, 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 blah. Cool for you, but the rest of the world still needs you to assist in them. And so this is when it kind of seems like when you are thinking that you're creating your own reality, you also sort of feel like if you just ignore your inner work and the darkness and the problems that are here on this planet, you kind of then everything's fantastic, right? Because you're ignoring that part of your reality. Well, the thing is, if you're going to own your reality and control your reality and create your reality, you might as well check out all aspects of it, right? Instead of ignoring instead of ignoring stuff, you should be able to really face it, confront it, and expand upon it, right? What was the saying last week that we said? Don't ignore, explore, expand upon things. So I know it's all choices, blah, 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 blah. But let's just check with ourselves. Do we have any old belief systems, such as we create our own realities? Then we kind of have got tripped up on it. Let's just throw away everything we know about spirituality and everything, and let's just start thinking logically about the foundational structures of what you know, right? So, where do you base your information from? Do you get a quantum session and find out exactly what your subconscious wants to tell you? Or do you do it manually, right? You start researching the planet and figuring out what's actually going on with this planet right now. Look at maybe some nuclear waste that's been pumping into our oceans for the last 12 years. See if you can understand and make the correlations between nuclear waste pumping into our waterways and how that's going to help humanity, right? Sort of unstoppable. You can't contain that stuff. You can't simply like delete it or undo it or make a special wish. You can't actually solve that stuff with creating your reality to be a clean planet, right? It actually has to be things that actually change. And with us, the subconsciouses and our teams, like, well, look, that stuff, the ocean, what the hell? Like, get on with it, right? Do your jobs. You're supposed to be fancy and be able to transmute energy, and you're supposed to be able to do all this fantastic stuff to be able to help and protect us. And we're feeling so vulnerable right now because the oceans have been poisoned, blah, 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 blah. And they say, oh, we've got so much to do. And if we were staying here, and if you were staying here, yeah, we would have totally got onto that. But what's the point at this stage? We've got so much other things we need to focus on, right? It's kind of like priorities. What is our high dimensional team's priorities the most? It's not about the pollution of this planet, because this planet's really exhausted, right? And it can't keep sustaining it, because what does humans do? We still litter, we still don't recycle, or we do recycle, but it's not the proper way to recycle, or blah, 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 right? We're so irresponsible. We've had this beautiful planet. We were supposed to not only embrace this planet, respect this planet, we were also supposed to embrace and respect each other. How does that look right now, right? We still think that we are individual countries, and that we're potentially dodgy of each other's countries and suspicious and competing against things. We'll have Olympics to make sure that we are potentially all those Olympians are born in one country, and then they're dispersed throughout all the other countries and become legitimate citizens. And yet we have these little silly games where we pretend that we're competing against different countries. Okay. How is that creating unity? How is that creating communities? Isn't that just, yes, I guess competition can be beneficial, helpful, blah, 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 blah. It's all about perspectives, right? But can you see how everything that we're trying to live in our lives is always about separation and comparison? It's not truly about unity. It's not about emotional intelligence. It's not about any sort of intellect and supporting that in a really truly wholesome, harmonized, homogenized. I don't even know if that's the right thing. Okay, I might as well just slow down. I thought if I did these sessions in the evening, I wouldn't be so like jazz handsy with like my fresh cup of coffee that was burning through my body. But look at me, I'm starting to like rant again. So anyway, what I was coming to say was, having sessions, your own sessions, you'll help yourself understand what's going on for your future and how you will shift. Will you shift? What is the freaking shift? Ask, what is the solar flash? What is the laser event? What is the shift? What is new Earth? What is old Earth? What is Gaia? What is this planet? Is this planet blah, 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 blah. Ask, right? And even if you're totally like cool and balanced and like, oh, well, whatever will be, I'm not interested in dates, I'm cool as, I love my life, that's awesome, me too. But sometimes we need to be able to figure out what we're supposed to be doing to move forward in terms of like what we should be doing now. In case, like, I would not like it if my subconscious would be like, oh my God, you're so off path, you naughty little kid, you're a punk. Like, I actually want to make sure I'm of service and I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing according to my life contract and my expectations that not only do I have of myself, but what my teams are expecting me to do. And sometimes I've overreached and sometimes I've, sort of been a bit slack on things. So, it's always good to be able to just, have a routine checkup to make sure that your higher dimensional beings who are guides to you, are actually, pleased with how everything's going and giving you some tips and advice. Sometimes I get so stressed and I put on so much responsibility onto myself about this information and how to help humanity and inspire humanity, that I put a lot of tension on myself, which doesn't serve me. It really doesn't. And it's not what my teams want me to do, nor should I be doing it. So sometimes I catch myself sort of, buying too much stress into this. And, I'm trying to figure out ways to be able to reach people the best way for them to be able to actually hear the truth about the new earth, because everyone talks about the new earth, right? But are they? Because they're still saying the new earth is here. And I've never, ever, ever heard that the official new earth is here in 5D, that we get to have complete balance and harmony in our light bodies and all that sort of stuff here, right? I've asked quite a few times. And, it is interesting what the subconscious and the conscious mind will say in sessions. Absolutely, it is. And every life contract is unique and different. And not everyone wants to go to the new earth. Not everyone can go to the new earth. And there's lots of other fantastic planets to go to and explore or return to, right? Like new earth is not just the one only destination. And lots of advanced beings find that the fifth dimensional planet is very ho-hum with much love and respect, right? There's significance to where people need to go. So anyway, have I motivated you once again to go and get your sessions with your interns? They are free. Don't ever just assume you've made up the session information. Please listen to those sessions as many times as possible, because the information is significant. And when we think that it was all our minds that just made this stuff up, and a little bit when you sort of forget the feelings and the energy of that session and you re-listen to it, it's like listening to something you've never listened to or been exposed to before. And it's quite amazing and quite profound when it comes out into your own, through your own body in these sessions, and you hear your own self. It's incredible, fascinating, and I highly recommend it to those people who are still umming and ahhing. It's free, for frick's sake. It's not going to cost you anything apart from getting a higher perspective, and that's priceless in my opinion. Okay, I'm going to go. It's getting super dark, and this is weird. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a fantastic day, morning, afternoon. Bye.